Hey, I'm Eugene Driscoll. Welcome to Valley Navel Gazing on valleyindy.org, newhavenindependent.org, and 103.5 WNHH, New Haven's community radio station. I'm joined by Ethan Fry, Valley Indy reporter.
What's going on?
Not much. Ethan just got back, not just, but within the last few hours, got back from a court appearance in Milford. Who was appearing and how'd it go?
This was an appearance by the former director of the Derby Senior Center, Sarah Muoio. She was arrested last May, charged with first-degree larceny and accused of embezzling money from the senior center and then spending it on items for herself and her family, like at her house.
She had an application pending today for accelerated rehabilitation, right?
Yeah, and basically what that is...
And I should just say today is... What's today? Today is...
March 30th?
Thursday, March 30th.
Yeah, basically accelerated rehabilitation is for people who don't have criminal records, and in cases where the judge has to find that the crime isn't serious and the defendant is unlikely to commit crimes in the future. And if that's the case, or if a judge determines that's the case, he could continue the matter for up to 2 years. It's essentially unsupervised probation. And then if the person does not get arrested again and does all the stuff that they're asked to do through, if the judge orders them to do community service or something, then the charge will be dismissed, and it's as if they were never arrested in the first place legally.
It's a really common disposition to use the court term, like I'm a lawyer, and it's all it's usually first-time offenders, non-violence. Non-violent crimes. So, and that's what she had the application pending, and the judge granted it. Mm-hmm. What was the mood in the courtroom? And I guess she spoke. What was Sarah's demeanor during? Yeah,
it was the mayor of Derby, Anita Dugatto, was there. A lawyer representing the city was there. They objected to her application for the program. So did the prosecutor in the case, Kevin Lawlor. Muoio was there. Obviously, she apologized. She read a statement basically apologizing to the senior center and the city of Derby and her own family. And at the end of the hearing, the judge basically said...
Who was the judge?
Judge Frank Iannotti. The judge said basically when a person comes in applying for AR and admits what they did was wrong and has full restitution, then it's usually an easy decision. You grant the application. But because in this case it was public funds, stealing from the public, then it was less an easy decision, he said.
And in addition to Mayor Dugatto opposing AR for the former senior center director, I guess Art Gerkens, who's an alderman in Derby's 2nd Ward, he had circulated a petition. I missed that Board of Aldermen meeting when it came up, but was that mentioned in any way? The petition that had gone around.
It was not formally handed up to the judge that I saw.
It could have been beforehand.
Yeah, I know there were letters written on Muoio's behalf that went to the judge, but when a person applies for AR, the file is sealed, so we can't see any of them.
And one thing that's come out of this, and I'm not going to hesitate to say this, but there was no supervision of the books at the Derby Senior Center.
And that's something that came out during the hearing.
Yeah.
Was that the initial
all the sides agree on that.
The initial allegation was there's $30,000 in questionable charges or whatever. And then as, Muoio's lawyer, as a good lawyer will do, was, subpoenaing bank records and all sorts of stuff to try to get that number down. He says, and it's not like she didn't steal it all. He says the number's closer to 7,500. They settled on 10,000 as a figure for the restitution.
Anyway, so let's play the first interview here, and this was recorded with the prosecutor, the chief state attorney.
State's attorney.
What did I say?
Chief state's attorney.
I don't know. It's a Connecticut thing.
During, during court,
why don't they just say
defense
prosecutor?
Lawyer made the same mistake, and I was like, you gave him a promotion. But
L.A. law never had
each judicial
chiefs.
district has a state's attorney, a top prosecutor essentially,
who now hates me. I'm glad I'm not on camera. Kevin Lawlor.
Any comment on the judge's Muoio decision? Are you disappointed?
No, I'm not disappointed. I think the judge struggled with both sides of that. I think reasonable minds can disagree. I believe that a theft of public funds is of a serious nature. But that being said, I think the judge gave about as thoughtful a response as he could and balanced a lot of competing interests. And the state did what we could do to try and reach a just result, and that's all we can do. So that's.
Are you worried that somebody who works for a community, say, sees a decision like this and thinks, well, as long as I volunteer with other organizations and stuff, I could steal $10,000 and then not have a criminal conviction?
I think every case is unique. Every case is decided on its own particular facts, and as far as what messages are sent, I don't know. I couldn't answer that. But from the prosecution point of view, thefts in the public community will be prosecuted vigorously. She was charged with larceny in the first degree, but the legislature allows you to apply for AR in that circumstance. We enforce the law as it's written, not as people think it should be.
Do you think the legislature should carve out a thing in the AR statute that says?
Not my decision. That's up to them.
Who's going to be watching over her other than probation to make sure she doesn't do something like this?
I think the people of Derby will be watching her very closely.
She's never going to go. She lives in Milford. She's never going to go back. And
I don't know.
Who's going to make sure that she doesn't seek employment where she's going to be handling another?
That's the job of the probation department, to enforce the court's orders. And again, this case isn't resolved for 2 years. Should she consciously violate the court's orders, she's subject to being brought back in, facing up to 20 years in prison for larceny in the first degree.
I mean, it's more a question for Mr. Thomas, but do shoddy accounting procedures excuse theft? I mean,
They don't excuse theft, but you have to be able to prove theft.
So that was the prosecutor, Kevin Lawlor, and this is Eugene Driscoll on Valley Naval Gazing, which is heard on WNHH 103.5, New Haven's community radio station. We never do that FCC ID anymore, and I think we're going to jail for it in the new era. So here's now Mayor Dugatto. It's only a minute long. This is you talking to her after Sarah was accepted into the AR program. Muoio. I can never say her last name. After Sarah Muoio was accepted into the AR program, which is essentially a special form of probation that if you keep your nose clean for 2 years, the crime is erased from the record.
Mayor Dugatto, what kind of message do you think the judge's decision sends to other employees of the city of Derby who, does it give them a green light to steal as long as they volunteer
I think listening to his verdict was very comprehensive. She was not let off the hook anyway. Just as she qualified for AR and she was awarded AR, she needs to take classes, and she has to pay full what they agreed on, the recitation they agreed on, and she's got to take classes. So, in 2 years, she has to be that good person that the judge hopes she will become.
And then there seemed to be like a confusion over how much, or a dispute over how much money was allegedly taken. Are there any different accounting procedures, or is
definitely
any
there's
review?
new procedures. The board that's made up of the membership right away was able to see the bank statements. That was never done before. Credit card has been shredded. There's no need for credit card. The city offers the senior center a budget for anything emergency. That money that was taken, the money was taken from, and furniture was purchased from, was in-house, and it was never in the minus. That account had almost $30,000. It was never in the minus. And now it is like 14.
Yeah, it's less than 14.
Less than 14. So that's in-house
Money that belonged to the seniors.
they raise in their Derby Day booth and so on and so forth. So
So it wasn't money that the city had budgeted?
No,
it was money that came in for programs that she
Correct.
was skimming off of, essentially?
So yes, the internal money that they do so many programs. The craft, they do crafts and they sell them. They do
We do
raffles on.
scholarships to the high school seniors.
Yeah.
Out
So
of
that's
that.
internal money that they.
But I mean, it would have been used for the seniors if she hadn't
Yeah.
stolen it.
So in the same venue, the new director and under the guidance of the membership committee, any items that are purchased need to go through a vetting process. It's nothing spent for emergency. There's no reason for that. We have city budget to take care of anything in the building for emergency. So it's always been, now it's, there's new procedures in place. I mean, they could talk more on how they do that, but the board sees the bank statements and
So, I mean, are
monthly.
you disappointed with the judge's decision?
I honor what he has to say. I mean, I did my job defending the seniors, and it's up to the judge. And that's where.
But the money that comes in cash, the cash that comes in when they pay for something, their food.
They
or
do
whatever.
dinners. Yeah, they do a monthly dinner. They do a monthly breakfast. It's $4, I think.
And each of those events are now being kept track of as to exactly what comes in and exactly what goes out.
All right, like I said, that was Mayor Dugatto. And then to close out our reporting on this story, last but not least, is Dominick Thomas, who represented Sarah Muoio.
I think I'm happy for my client. I'm happy that she can go forward now, and I don't have any fears that she will.
Like, if there is someone who works for the city of Derby who saw what happened in court today, don't you think that what they could infer from that is, hey, I could steal 10 grand as long as I do volunteer work and get a good lawyer to apply AR?
That would be a completely superficial thing, because the fact of the matter is, as the judge said, he took the whole life into account. He took the whole picture into account.
Well, if you have a good life, can you steal 10 grand then? Is that what they're saying,
Well,
essentially?
if you're saying,
done a
well,
lot of
I have a
good
good
things in your
life,
life.
if I have a good life, I'm just going to go steal it. There were many other factors that the judge pointed out that impacted this. I mean, one of the things that was in the report and everything like that I mentioned in there is she and her family put substantial amounts of money into the center. Now, the proper way isn't to go use the credit card to take it out. You know what I mean? That isn't the point. That's improper. But that is a completely simplistic view to say, therefore, under that case, no one should get AR. Under your philosophy, nobody should ever get AR. Nobody should ever get it, because, in fact, anybody that's given AR, then anybody could look at it and say, oh, I can do that. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. And you look at the total picture, and also you look at, there were many other factors. What? You want to read a story? Go pull that arrest warrant. Find out who misrepresented.
The file's sealed.
Sealed now. Who misrepresented to the police? Somebody. The statements to the police were, nobody ever used that card. She's the only one that had possession of it. That was a total wrong. It was totally wrong.
Wouldn't that be like making a false report? Like,
I don't know. I'm not out to get anybody else in
do you
trouble.
think other crimes were committed to...
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I was asked that question in a conference room today. And I am not one to loosely accuse anybody of a crime. Okay? I do not believe, nor do I have any evidence of any crimes being committed by other people. I just believe that the senior center finances need to be controlled the way any other entity within the city or any other nonprofit is controlled. There needs to be appropriate supervision. They operated too much on a cash basis. They operated without records. I subpoenaed the receipts. I never received them. I have no idea where they are. But where is their accounting? That was my point. That is not, I want you to stress, this is not an excuse for my client, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying to you is, these are the kind of things I think that Derby needs to take a look at.
That's been true in the Derby tax collector's office, Ansonia tax collector's office, Oxford. People bring in cash and nobody accounts for it.
Well, Mike. That's an oversimplification. Okay, I mean, I handled the Oxford tax collector's case. It's an oversimplification of what was going on in there. You have to understand something. In many of these cases, and this is one of the points I made in my report, there is efforts to conceal. One of the reasons the judge pointed out her aberrant behavior is there was no effort to conceal anything on her part. You know what I mean? I mean, you could have easily picked up the statement, taken a look at it, and seen, what was done. There wasn't an effort to conceal it. So, as Judge said, it was a very difficult decision for her. I'm pleased for my client. I'm confident she will play it forward, like the judge said.
All right, so with that brings our stories, hopefully, on this matter to an end. We've covered it from the beginning. I've now fulfilled my podcast duties to WNHH 103.5 in New Haven. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Later.